I'm Jessica Richmond, and I have been a foster mom for over 13 years now. Telling you a little bit about, my background and story, I started this journey probably about 14 years ago, saying, give me the kids that aren't adoptable because we're just going to foster, and then ended up adopting 5 children and having one that aged out. So we've also done foster, respite, emergency care for about, probably close to a dozen others over the last 13 years. And the current ages of my children, so the younger ones are 6, 7, and 8 years old. And then there's Cheyenne, who you'll hear from next, and her twin brother. And then the one that aged out of the system before we adopted, she is now 23. It's ranging from a newborn all the way to 17 years old. And our first foster placement was actually Andrew and Cheyenne, and that was January 24th of 2008. We just celebrated our 13th, we call famiversary. And they were supposed to stay 2 weeks, and we ended up having them forever. So, we lived week by week in that first year, especially, and there were a lot of challenges, behavioral challenges, emotional challenges. How do you deal with the birth family? How do we incorporate these other siblings? How do we incorporate, the parts of the family that were challenging, or what about the ones that were actually quite lovely and have stayed with us over the years? So C.A.S.E was really critical in that time. So attending the conferences, getting the kids involved and supporting them was a really big part of it. Looking back, I was thinking the other day, 14 years ago, when, we first signed up for this, I set all these guidelines on what I thought I could do. And I said, I don't think I could do babies. I can't do any child with significant special needs. I couldn't do any child with physical needs. I don't really know how to deal with mental health issues. So I had these very strict parameters. And 13 years later, it's ironic that I can say I've accidentally signed up for every single one of those things. Just kind of leapt in there, and I have now raised a baby addicted to heroin, PCP, and Suboxone, and gone through 13 months of what withdrawal looks like for a baby. Had a toddler with special needs and pre-verbal trauma, and the support that he needed to start to hit milestones and be able to go to school has been significant. I have hospitalized 2 separate children for suicide prevention, and dealt with a ton of trauma that these children have experienced. And then less than 2 years ago, my oldest son and Cheyenne's twin brother, in addition to all the other challenges these kids had, was one of approximately 250 kids a year that get one of the most aggressive form of cancer. And so I spent 5 months in East Baltimore at Hopkins, working on his cancer journey, getting through that, including a month on life support and in a coma. And the consistent theme that I can share is, no matter where these kids come from or what they've been through or what challenges they're facing, I remember standing in the halls in Johns Hopkins, and part of that cancer treatment plan was addressing the mental health needs associated with my son having been adopted, and what his trauma was and how he would process this treatment plan.
Everyone, I'm Cheyenne Richmond. I'm just going to start by giving a brief description of my history and what happened before I was adopted and put into foster care. So I was born in Minnehaha, South Dakota. I have 2 older siblings that are biological and a biological twin brother. We moved to DC my early childhood. My biological parents struggled with drug addiction, and we were often homeless, living in my biological dad's van or his construction sites that he was working on for work. After that, we would bounce back and forth, with my aunts. And then finally, one day, we were able to go to my first foster home, which is my mom, Jessica, and my dad, Tim. And ever since then, we've stayed there forever, and it's been a home forever. But I just wanted to read you guys a passage from the book Beneath the Mask. And the reason why I'm doing this is because being an adopted kid, it's been a struggle to find my identity. But here's a passage that I chose to read to you guys. I chose to write about identity because it is the stuck spot that has impacted me the most. Most adopted kids who I know nothing, know any, sorry. Most adopted kids who I know don't know anything about their birth family history, but I think sometimes I know too much, and the things I know sometimes make me knowing who I am very complicated. I worry about the fact that my birth parents have bipolar disorder and addiction problems, and I don't know if these problems could be passed on to me, and I don't want to end up like the way they did. Fortunately, I also have positive characteristic traits from my birth parents and extended birth family relatives. They are intelligent, musically talented, and have a great sense of humor. Now, with that being said, I've taken positive traits from my biological family and positive traits from my adoptive family, and it's kind of formed who I am today. Not only that, but C.A.S.E has helped me. I've been working with a therapist throughout my years to help with depression and questions about what I might have with like how to deal with certain situations when it comes to like my biological parents and siblings trying to come back into my life as being an adoptive adult now since I moved out. So that has been challenging.